this my first time? Hi there and welcome to my channel. I'm Jennifer. This is A Country Life. I'm going to be making tomato soup today and canning that up. So last year I made tomato soup canned for the first time. I normally just can my tomatoes as either diced tomatoes or tomato juice. But last year I wanted to do tomato soup, and honestly I didn't quite care for the flavor. It's fine if I put it in something, but just to have it like tomato soup and grilled cheese, I just didn't really care for the flavor so much. So I'm trying a different recipe this year. Maybe you've been following along with Souptember. I'm going to pop up the little the logo for Souptember 2023. You're going to want to watch for that across YouTube. And when you see that, you're going to know that that is one of the 30 channels that is part of Souptember 2023. Okay, so day one was Mennonite Farmhouse. Leanne over there made a tomato soup, and I thought I'm going to give that one a try. So here's what I have going. I need 16.5 cups of chopped tomatoes. So we're going to start with this and see what this yields, and then I can always go and get more because there are more in my pantry, and I was just down to the garden grabbing the onions, and there's probably another 50 tomatoes down in the garden. I also need a couple of cups of red bell pepper. I have this was in the freezer. This is a combination of red and green bell peppers from last year's harvest, and so I'm just going to use that as my pepper. I also need 1 cup of sliced carrots, so I just went down there and pulled these from the garden as well. I have one of those really buzzy black flies flying around the kitchen right now. I'm going to have to get that because that is obnoxious. And then I also need 3.5 cups of onions, diced onions, and so I just pulled this from the garden as well. I can always go down and grab some more if I need to, but I thought this would probably yield, ooh, that's going to be tight. I don't know if that's going to yield 3.5 cups or not, but anyway, I'm going to get all of this chopped up. I will link to the recipe in the description box below. The recipe does call for, I think, 2.5 cups of celery. Yes, 2.5 cups of chopped celery. I don't have celery on hand right now. I didn't grow it in my garden, and I don't have any, so I'm just going to have to skip that, which I'm kind of bummed because I love celery, but I have to get these tomatoes processed into something. And I know a lot of people will put all their tomatoes into freezer bags as they ripen in their garden and then deal with them later. I just know me, and once they go into the freezer, I am not going to be thinking about doing something with tomatoes in October or November or whenever. I'm just not. I'm more of a let's do it right now, get it on the shelf and be done with it kind of person. Now for all of my vegetables, I'm going to go a little bit over the amount required because I'm not going to dice everything so small, because at the end will just run all of this through my food strainer, and this size right here is just fine for running through my food strainer. So what I'm going to be doing is over measuring, so that I do end up with enough. I do cut off all the blemishes though. As for the tomatoes, I packed them in. So each of these is 8 cups of filled to the line. But what I did is I just kept packing and packing and packing because I wanted to get that air out. You know, when you dice it, you're going to be able to pack more in than if you have just a half or a quarter of a tomato. So I really packed them down and I filled them all the way to the top. So that was well over 16.5 cups, but that's just how I'm doing it. Okay, I'm going to get this put onto the stove now, cover it, and start warming it. I also have to get my little spice bag put together. I also need a clove of garlic. I'm going to use just about a teaspoon of this minced garlic. All right, I have a little piece of cheesecloth, and I need about a tablespoon of whole cloves and 7 bay leaves. This bottle here, they are all broken up. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Well, that's a nice one. 6 and 7. It's pretty good. Now I'm just gonna tie this up. I thought I had a piece of string, which I don't see right now. Oh, these things easier. All right, I'm going to put this little spice bag here. I hope that all holds together well. Let's see. I think I'm going to tie this again, those ends, because I don't want this to come apart, but I just want all those flavors to get into the soup. So I'm going to put this in the soup. I'm going to use this wooden, oh, actually it's called a spurtle. I all of a sudden forgot what it's called. I'm going to use this wooden spurtle to mix up. So this had come to a boil. I turned it down, and now I need to set my timer for about an hour. I should have actually done that a little bit ago. So I'm going to set it for 50 minutes. I basically just have to cook this down until all the vegetables are soft. I also had a 1-pound pack of venison burger thawed, so I cut up that last onion that I had pulled from the garden, and I just have that browning right now. I have a little bit of frozen, already cooked hamburger, and I'm going to combine that with this and make some barbecue. It's not going to be a full recipe. I always do the Sloppy Joe recipe out of the Pioneer Woman cookbook. It is her Food from My Frontier. I think this was her second cookbook. And it takes 2.5 pounds of ground beef. Like I said, I probably only have about 1 3/4 pounds total of ground venison. So I'm just going to just kind of shrink everything down a little bit. I've made this so many times that I know the flavor we're going for, and so I can just kind of, I can wing it pretty good. I also did not have any fresh bell peppers. Our green pepper plants down in the garden this year were all eaten off. The tops were all eaten off by a deer. And so they do actually look like maybe they're trying to blossom again. I got about 7 green peppers total, I think. They look like they're trying to blossom again because we're in 90-degree heat here in September, which is very odd for us. I don't think they're going to mature into anything though. So I'm just glad that I have this. I only have this one plus 1 more bag down in the freezer of green peppers. So yeah, it's going to be time to start buying peppers again. But so what I'm going to do is just break off a little chunk of this and cut these up to add to the barbecue. Okay, everything is in here. This just seems so goofy to make such a little amount, but it was just the meat that I have, and honestly I'd have to go and dig a little bit deeper in my chest freezer, but I'm pretty sure I'm out of ground venison now. We have some steaks, roasts, mini roasts, we have stew meat, but ground venison, I believe this might have been the last one. There could be 1 or 2 buried deep in the trenches of the freezer, but this is kind of getting down there. So, and anyway, I just really have been wanting to make some barbecue lately. I'm just going to let that simmer away until it kind of thickens up a little bit. All the veggies are soft. That looks delicious. Since I'm just kind of in the kitchen waiting for, you know, all of these things here to simmer, I thought that I would make some cake mix cookies. So I'm going to do M&M cake mix cookies. I have 1 package of cake mix in here, yellow cake mix. I have 1/4 cup of shortening, 2 eggs. Then I'm going to unwrap this half stick of butter, put that in there, get that mixed up. All right, I needed a cup of oatmeal. I only had about 3/4 of a cup, so I filled it up with Rice Krispies. We'll see how that works out today. And then I have these mini M&Ms. All right, just exactly a cup. Get those poured in. It's a pretty quiet day around here today. Warren had to get to Fleet Farm, and of course once the kids heard that, they were like getting their schoolwork done as fast as they possibly could because they wanted to go to Fleet Farm, and I was like, sure. All right, at this point, I actually have to go and make a couple beds. So I just thought I have about 8 minutes, and I think I can probably get at least one bed made in that 8 minutes. Then I'll come back, deal with cookies, and then go make another bed. At this point, I have another batch of cookies that just popped out of the oven here. I like to let them rest on the pan for 1 to 2 minutes. And the tomato soup is actually all finished. So I need to fish out that spice packet. I wonder if I was supposed to fish out the spice packet. Well, it's got to be in here somewhere. There it is. Okay, so we have to get that out. And I have my food strainer set up, and now I'm gonna have to like start jumping back and forth between cookies and tomato soup, cookies, tomato soup. Let's get these off the pan. Cookies are all done and out of the oven now. I just scraped all of the puree off of here. It all fits into this glass bowl. That's amazing. It's pretty liquidy. I would like this to just be a little bit thicker. So at this point, what I have to do now, I rinsed out my pot so I didn't have any like tomato seeds or anything in there. I'm gonna just ladle the soup back in here. When it gets lower, I think I'll just pick it up and pour it, but right now it's a little hot and a little full. At this point, I have to add a teaspoon of salt. It's really just salt and pepper to taste, so I'm just going on Leanne's measurements because it sounded just like what I would do anyway. So, and we've got a half teaspoon of black pepper. And then I also need 1 cup of brown sugar. This is actually dark brown sugar just because that's all I have right now. If I had light brown, I would use that, but I don't. I think that's gonna add a real depth of flavor to it though. I'm gonna put this back on the stove, bring it to a boil, and then just simmer it for a little while just to thicken it up a bit and to dissolve that brown sugar. Got tons and tons of scraps today for the chickens. It's always so fun to watch them because they'll steal things away from each other and run away, and they'll put their foot on it like to try to hold it in place so the other ones don't get it away from them. Well, it's starting to look like cranberry harvest is nearing.
Not doing anything fabulous.
You're always doing something fabulous.
Well,
Looking back at my camera footage from the summer, I noticed that you didn't do a whole lot of filming this summer.
I did not.
It's just been a hard pull this year with, I don't know, the dryness and not having any part-time help.
Yeah, it's been kind of hard summer. Well, this cap doesn't go.
So just getting stuff. It's
Not
so
doing anything fabulous.
nothing fabulous. It's so windy. I don't even know if we'll get good sound quality right now.
For some reason, this cap is not on. Try a different one. Now, this is the last of the heat.
Hopefully, huh? For your sake.
That's what I needed. Well, it can always get worse. I shouldn't complain. Just getting ready for harvest. Wish I had smaller hands when I'm working on these tires.
You don't like your big farmer hands?
Turns into knuckle busters when you're working on tires.
So I cooked this down, I would say about 1/2 to an inch. And I'm going to get this ladled into my jars at this point. I need to leave a 1-inch head space. That's the distance from the top of the soup to the top of the jar. It needs to be 1 inch. And it looks like I need to take a little bit out. Alright, on a paper towel here, I'm just going to put some vinegar so that I can wipe the rims of each jar. Just want it to be nice and clean. If any got on the threads, you want to get that off, get that cleaned as well. At this point, I'm going to proceed as normal for pressure canning. That is to put my lid on, vent it for 10 minutes on high. Really, you just need to look at the instructions for your particular pressure canner. I have 2 quarts of water in the bottom of here because that's what mine calls for. And then I do have to look at the original recipe to see how long I need to pressure can this for. So once it vents for 10 minutes, then you want to put your pressure gauge on at the appropriate pressure for your altitude, and then it's 20 minutes in the pressure canner. And you want this to rock like that and stop and kind of back and forth about 4 times per minute. All right, this is how supper is looking tonight, and then we also have some fruit cups out on the table. I just turned off the canner. It went for its 20 minutes, and now you just want to turn it off, do not disturb it, let the pressure come down, and once the pressure has come down, it can take anywhere from 20 minutes up to an hour sometimes for the pressure to come down, and then you just tap the weight, check if there is any pss, pss, pss. If there isn't any of that sound, you know the pressure has come down. You can take the weight off, take the lid off, and get the jars out. Then you always want to let the jars set up for about 24 hours before taking off the rings and putting them on your canning shelves. Alright, so for the tomato soup, I just have to wait and make sure that these all pop, that the seals pop. Sometimes it can take, you know, it can take a little while. As they cool, they will start to pop and depress, whatever word it is you want to use. So it looks like I have 2 jars maybe so far that needs to, like that right there. I am literally in the garage ending out the video here today because I feel like I am always competing against all these other noises and music and TV and talking on the phone and just so many things. So anyway, I hope that you guys enjoyed this video. Just a quick afternoon with me in the kitchen. I hadn't done a video kind of just like this where it's just sort of one afternoon in the kitchen. A lot of times my videos are like over a course of a number of days, what I'm getting done or meals I'm making or food that I'm making, that kind of thing over the course of many days. But I just thought today would be kind of fun to just do just a one afternoon, and this was everything that got done. We did actually put some vanilla ice cream in between the cookies. Maria and I both did that after supper for a little dessert, and that was so yummy. The barbecue, of course, that recipe is always so good. And then the tomato soup, I haven't ever done it this way. We'll find out, I'm sure at some point, maybe during cranberry harvest or something, I'll pull out a couple of jars for lunch and we'll make some grilled cheese. That would be a great lunch, especially if it was kind of a chilly day. So anyway, stay tuned. Cranberry harvest is coming. Hit the subscribe button and stay tuned for all of the fall fun. All right, we'll see you guys soon. Bye for now.